Yeah, so I've been toying with this idea for a bit, and I just decided to just go ahead and go for it. The Dateline interview look, it's their thing. It's well lit. I would say probably evenly lit. That doesn't seem like one side of the face is brighter than the other, really, but it's a whole thing. But also on their actual specials, they do this extra camera where they show like the BTS. This is like the director's monitor. These are all the lights, that kind of thing. So I decided to recreate it. So ignore this person. It's not what this is about today. This is actually just the Dateline look. I want to recreate it because I had a theory. My theory was, yes, when you have all the lights, you can make this look. Yeah, without question, sure. But if you don't have those lights, how close can you get? And so I have a couple different steps. I have the first step, which is the lights, the Dateline lights, and I'll talk about that in a second. The second step is just turning off all the lights and just having a China ball, so a lantern, just hanging over everybody. Third step, just the house lights. And if you shoot in RAW, because I shot. Here's me in a silly outfit in RAW, and this is all shot in RAW. How close can I get to the Dateline look? And I think I got pretty close. So let me walk through it. Let me do some comparisons first, though. I think that's the first thing we should talk about. So this is the look that I'm going for, and just to sort of walk through the room, I'm going to be sitting in Savannah Guthrie's seat, just because that's the way the room was set up. Ignore this light. This light is facing the subject. There's probably other lights to the right of Savannah Guthrie that we just don't see, but this light, and this light are definitely facing Savannah Guthrie. This is her key. This, I'm not really sure. I think it's like a background light sort of shooting over her, maybe just adding some more just level to everything. And then this is another one of these, except it has a grid on it. So this is her fill, but again, it doesn't really matter all that much because Savannah Guthrie, she seems pretty evenly lit, and you can see there's the key catch light in one side of her eye, and there's the fill catch light on the other side of her eye. And I guess if she was looking up higher, you'd see the third light above too. So, but let's look at how I did it, because I did. Boom. Okay, so yeah, so there's your gridded softbox. There's your light that I'm still not super clear on what it's doing there, and then there's your softbox with the cutter to sort of block the subject. So yeah, and then ignore that little hot thing. That was supposed to be another cutter, but I was just basically trying to block the poster. It didn't work super good, but you get it. So light, middle light, and then the softbox. So yeah, I'll be sitting in this seat in sort of Savannah Guthrie's spot. And this is how it turned out. So there's Savannah Guthrie, there's me. I think it's pretty close. It's actually closer when the background is corrected, and then for some reason I figured out just Davinci Resolve just doesn't like to do that last correction, but I can show you. Yeah, so it's actually corrected, but then when I add Savannah Guthrie to it, this white wall turns back to orange because it was just a complicated node. So let me get into how I did it, and then I'll start working on the other two, because these are the three looks. We can look at these looks here. Is it gonna let me? I say that and then famous last words. So these are three looks. So this is actually lit the way Dateline lit it. This is just with a softbox, and this is just the house lights. So obviously they're very different looks. This was raw, so this is what they looked like raw. Let me get into how they actually looked. Actually, I can do it right here. I don't even need to do anything more than that. So what we can do is I can just turn off everything that was not the conversion, because I did a conversion. So these two are just basically the same as a LUT. These are, if I highlight these two and I turn them off, yeah. So there's raw, there's your conversion to Rec 709, and then the rest of these are the look. Boom. So there you go. Actually, there. So I did it backwards. But even then, it's more than that, because you do it. There we go. So this last node is actually fixes that background, but for some reason when I do the multi view, it doesn't keep it. So yeah. So let me walk you through how I did this one. So we'll just turn it off and go as we go. But it was I had to do some corrections because I figured out Savannah Guthrie actually, even though it's sort of balanced behind her, and if you look at the footage, it looks like it's white balanced, but when you actually look at her, it's white balanced correctly behind her, and then she's in sort of an orange light, an amber light. So I obviously used everything at the same color temperature. This is all daylight balanced, and so that was a mistake. I just should have paid more attention, but that's fine. So this is what we got. This is just, you know, straight out of camera, trying to get to that. First thing I did was I fixed the exposure. So I brought it up a little bit because Dateline likes everybody, you know, pretty bright. Changed the saturation a little bit. I don't necessarily think I needed to. And then I did this thing called depth map. And so this is what I want to show you because it's kind of a complicated thing, but it's actually really cool. So there's a few ways to do it. And I figured out when I was trying to shoot this earlier that I can't use depth map on all of it because it takes too much computing power away from my computer, and it won't record and do depth map at the same time. It doesn't like it. So I'll use it for this one, but then for the rest of them, I'm going to do a different strategy. But the idea is the same. So I got everything right except obviously my skin tone is not even remotely close to Savannah Guthrie's skin tone because she has an amber light falling on her, and I have a daylight balanced one. So what we can do is I balanced my skin tone to Savannah Guthrie's skin tone. Obviously the background looks messed up, but I had a quick solution for that, which was I added depth map. So I took depth map and I just dropped it on in between the balance node and saturation node, and that's because I want depth map, this blue check or this blue square, to touch my balance node and a background node. So I'm going to do both. So what depth map does is it maps literally based on the image where things are. So everything that's white is going to get affected by obviously this balance node that I'm pointing it to. And then so this is medium, and then basically everything darker doesn't get used. And then I did the same thing for the background, except I inverted it. So I went in and clicked that button, I believe. Yeah, see, in that version it's not inverted. In this version it is. And what that does, we can turn off the preview, is so there's you know, no corrections. There's the balance for the skin tone with depth map on, and then here's the background corrected too. Bam. It'd be nice if I could still see that with Savannah Guthrie, but it won't let me for some reason. That's fine. I need to turn this back on though. Yeah, okay, and that's all I did. So these are just parallel nodes because I wanted both of them, but it's neither here nor there. I use depth map. So for the rest of them, I'm not gonna use a depth map. I'm just gonna just cut them out using a, whatever this is called, window. But yeah, so that's what I did. I think I got pretty close. I think if we look at, if we do side by side, we can flip these. I think I need to wipe style. We'll do invert wipe. I'm on the same side, so it's not great. I think it's pretty close. It's not 1-to-1, but I'd say it's pretty close. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. So anyway, moving on, let's go to this one. So this is just, instead of this beautiful, you know, group of lights the way they did in Dateline, you know, all that stuff, I just had a China ball lantern with just a bulb in it. You know, incandescent bulb, you know, so it's tungsten balanced, but that's fine. And that's what this is. First thing I'm noticing is the lens got flared because the bulb was shining light directly into the lens. That was a mistake. I probably should have fixed that, but I can, and I will. So I'm just gonna put Savannah Guthrie right next to me, and I'm gonna look at her while I do this, because I don't even need effects. So I'm not gonna do a depth map or anything. So first thing, I need to fix the exposure, but I also need to fix sort of the haze that's in it. And it's not gonna be perfect, but I think I can get pretty close. So let's try to get the haze out first. I'm just gonna add contrast. And honestly, I'm pretty happy with that. This background is too dark, but I can fix that later. But I think I just wanna bring the skin tone up a little bit. I'm actually, yeah, I'm pretty good with that. Saturation, I think, is actually probably okay. It might even be a little too hot. I'm also noticing that my shirt is a little red. It should be black. That's because I was using an ND filter, so shame on me, but that's fine. I can fix that later. Balance. So balance is gonna try to get my skin tone closer to Savannah Guthrie's. So yeah, I'm just gonna use the temperature and tint sliders. So here we go. Let's do tint first. We'll go green, and then we need to do a little bit of yellow. There we go. Something like that. Yeah, maybe a little bit extreme, but I'm okay with it. Maybe I'll back it off just a little bit. Something like that. I think that's pretty close. So what we can do is I'll just cut myself out, and then I'll do what's called an outside node. So here we go. So the only thing I want to look at is just me, because that's where the light needs to be landing, just like on Savannah Guthrie. So we'll just do a sloppy one for the sake of what we're doing here. Obviously, I would do a better job, you know, for real, but it is what it is. Boom. And then what we'll do is we'll do softness just a little bit. This probably needs to go out further, but we'll do softness outside actually. Something like that, and maybe just a little bit on the inside, but not a ton. And all of a sudden, yeah, there you go. So, and what we can do is we can do node, add outside. So that's taking the information but flipping it. And then we just want to just match the background. So I'm going to bring up the exposure of the background, but I'm also going to change the color. So first thing, I think I just want to bring up the overall exposure, something to approximate what they're doing, something like that. That's not perfect. And then we need to definitely get rid of that red tint. So maybe something like that, maybe even a little bit more green, and then a little bit of blue. Something like that. Yeah, I could stand to go down a little bit on this. Yeah, something like that. I don't hate it. It's not perfect. You can definitely see we can drop the softness and redraw this a little bit. Something like that. I think that's a little bit more believable. It's not perfect. Obviously, I would do the depth map if I really was doing this, but it's too hard on the computer. I'm pretty happy with that. I'm pretty good with that. There's definitely still a bit of a haziness, and a lot of that is the fact that the lens has a flare on it. So I think another pass I would be to try to make things a little bit less smoky, less hazy. But I don't think these are as far of a stretch as they could be, these two. I mean, they're, especially if you ignore the fact that I can't see the blue background. So fair is fair, we'll do something like that. Actually, we can't. Yeah, I kind of buy it. I don't hate it. I kind of look like I'm a CGI version of myself in this one in front of a green screen, which is kind of gross, but that's because of how that mask that I did was. Anyway, moving on. So this is this is the worst case scenario. This is you walk into a set and you either don't have crew, or you don't have equipment, or you don't have both, or you don't have time, and you just get what you're gonna get, which was a light behind you and a light in front of you. So I have a light in front of me, but I also have the same lights behind me, which you could almost see. It's almost in the shot. But yeah, so a worst case scenario. I white balanced it correctly, it looks like, though. So look, we match this to Savannah Guthrie. This would be the hardest one, and this is why I shot in RAW, because I feel like I needed the most data possible. Let's just get into it. So first thing, let's get the contrast up a little bit, because Savannah Guthrie has some pretty good contrast. We're gonna bring up the exposure. I don't like how that exposure went up, so we'll do some gain. There we go. Something like that. I buy it. Saturation, I don't know. I definitely need to change the balance, so let's go ahead and do what we've been doing. So let's try to get my face to match Savannah Guthrie's warmer face. First thing we do, oh, actually, interesting. It didn't need the adjustments the way the other one did. So something like that, maybe a little warmer. Something there. I think that's pretty close. And then yeah, and then we'll just fix the background. So let's do another window around me. I could have taken the same information as last time, but I felt like that was kind of like cheating. So let's just boom, and then we'll soften it and compare it to Savannah Guthrie. I mean, honestly, I would even probably buy that the way it is. I'm gonna bring the exposure down, so we'll do an outside node, but I'm actually very happy with that. So, yeah, let's just bring the exposure down. a little bit, maybe we'll add a little bit of blue, a little bit of green. I mean, I don't hate that. I kind of have a weird halo on myself, but I honestly, that may have been easier than the softbox one or the China ball one, and that's because that China ball one had a flare. So yeah, can you reasonably approximate a Dateline look with just available lighting and do it in the color grade? I think the answer is yes. I think the answer is if need be, it can be done. I'm still even as a colorist, I'm still very much on the side of get it shot in camera, get it perfect in camera, because even as a colorist, you know, my job is really to enhance what the director and the director of photography were already achieving on set. It does feel kind of icky when you completely reverse or you completely go a different direction than what the director of photography had laid out in the footage. So, but yeah, with a camera that shoots raw and just available lighting, I think you could get an approximate of a Dateline look. I can definitely see a difference. This does seem softer, and the shadows seem, well, there's more of them certainly, but not significant. I mean, Savannah Guthrie basically doesn't have a shadow on her face because they have so many lights on her. That's Dateline's whole thing, is the subject has a ton of lights on them, and then the background is just sort of pretty for pretty's sake. Yeah, I don't. Okay, so I guess my short answer is, when you have the equipment and when you have the manpower and when you have the time, yeah, you know, do the whole Dateline thing. I mean, if you're a working videographer or if you're a working director of photography, this is a meat and potatoes setup anyway. This is your brain. This is tattooed on the inside of your eyeballs, on your inside of your eyelids already, so it's not a big deal. But if you don't have the resources, or if you don't have the time, or more likely if you're in a situation where the company that's paying the shooting team just does not have the budget for equipment and or additional people, you can get away with a China ball hanging over a person. And then even at a more extreme, if you're willing to put in the time and post-production and, you know, either be a colorist or hire a colorist who can handle it, you know, the boob light hanging off the ceiling is a worst case scenario situation with lighting. But looking at these three, is the boob light measurably, being the one at the bottom, is the boob light measurably worse than the rest of them? Honestly, can you honestly say that? Especially these two, comparing these two. Let me go in and just fix this. Let me just delete this depth map. And what we'll do is this will just be a cutout to make them all match, just for its own sake. There we go. Clickety clack, clickety clack. That's a messy one. That's okay though. A little bit of soft, and then there we go. So, and we'll just do this to this, and that will reverse that. And we just need to flip this. So click on this, flip this, there we go. And so honestly, if the question is, can you achieve a Dateline, oh, that's messy. Can you achieve a Dateline look without Dateline setup? Oops. I'm saying a strong yes, and it really depends on how you work and who you're working with. But ignoring the fact that I'm glowing because I did it in a silly way, I think it works. I do think this does look a little bit better. It looks a little bit crispier and a little bit more true to how Dateline works, especially with seeing the catch lights in both eyes on both sides. But would I notice a difference using this, especially if it wasn't flared? I don't think so. Would I notice this? Yes, this requires more work. But it can be done, and I did it relatively fast. Obviously, it was pretty quick and dirty, but it can be done. So that's where I guess that's where I'm gonna leave it. Dateline look. It's a look. You know, you throw a bunch of lights at people, they're gonna look good. That's kind of the logic of capturing images to begin with. But if you don't have that, as long as you can shoot in a camera that can shoot something like RAW and it's lit at all, and you have a colorist, can be done. That's what it is. Like, share, subscribe if this is interesting to you. Catch you next time.